Hi, it's Darnell with Wave Oven Recipes, and this is my 30-day review of the Instant Omni Pro Air Fryer Oven. And I do have my notes here so that, Lord willing, I don't miss anything that I want to tell you about it. But generally speaking, this cooker, I have some mixed feelings about it overall, because, some things that I experienced with it. And I do want to say, before I go further into this, if you're looking for test cooks and you're looking for all that type of stuff and measurements and temperature testing, all of that, I did all that in my initial review. So you can see that initial review. Also have another cook video out with this cooker, and Lord willing there'll be more cook videos with it later. But in this 30-day review, I just do a follow-up where I talk about my experiences with the cooker. But as I said, generally speaking, I have mixed feelings. And that's because certain things this cooker does very well, and other things, in my opinion, it just really fails on. Some things, the design of it and I guess, how it functions, I was just not impressed at all. So I have mixed feelings. On one end it does some things great, other end it doesn't. So overall, it can cook food evenly, fairly well overall. The front door is pretty thick, so it holds the heat in, fairly decent. It does okay. And basically, the door auto pauses when you open it. I always like a cooker that when you open the door, it auto pauses. I think that should just be a standard in every cooker. In this day and time, there should not be a cooker made that you open the door on and it's still running, blowing hot air on you. I don't really understand the logic why any cooker still has hot air blowing on you when you open the door these days. It also has, if you've seen the initial review and the test cook and such, it has a really neat user interface. I really like the user interface that they put on this cooker. It's really neat to use, a nice touch screen and make your adjustments on it. I would like to see more cookers come out with this type of a touch screen type of an interface, instead of knobs and, hard buttons. I do like that nice touch screen setup that they have here. I mean, it's almost like using a phone, dare I say, like using a cell phone screen, but it's pretty neat. I do like that. And I will say that this cooker is a very hot end cooker. I mean, with the fan blowing down the hot air from the top on the heating elements, when it's hot, it cooks really hot. I mean, it's like hot, like you want to lower your temp a lot more than you would with a lot of other cookers. I mean, maybe even more than 25 degrees more. I mean, you might need to go 50 degrees lower on some things than you normally would with other cookers. Now, something else to point out about this cooker is that it has a turn indicator that comes on partway, closer to the end of the cook. It tells you to turn. It's not right in the middle of the cook. It's a little after halfway. It tells you to turn. And I think they basically did that so that you have food that is really well cooked on one side before you flip it over. They're not just trying to do this basic numerical halfway spin things around type of deal, and one side's not really cooked as much as the other. So they have it go, further in through more than halfway before they tell you to turn, and then you flip things over and cook that other side. And I think that you get more even results on both sides from that. So I do think that they did a good job on setting up the turn indicator more than halfway. That is a feature that I used to kind of get a little annoyed at, but I guess I've realized now why it's done it, and I do appreciate it now more than I used to. Now, when it comes to handling smoke, this cooker is not the best with smoke. It's not the worst, but at high temps with something like bacon, you get a bit too much smoke later into the cook. I don't really like that. I'll say, generally speaking, I don't really like this cooker very much for cooking bacon because of that. I like to be able to, if I want to cook bacon at a high temp fast, be able to do it and not have too much smoke build up. So the cooker just doesn't hold smoke in very well. It does better than the worst when it comes to holding smoke in. I mean, it's like maybe a little better than a New Wave Bravo in holding smoke, a little. But all the same, it's not the best at holding in smoke in my opinion. So wouldn't use this cooker for things that are going to build up smoke on you because you'll probably see it coming out. Something else bad about this cooker in my opinion is that you can't hold a 13-inch bake pan in it. It can't put a 13-inch bake pan in it. So, you know, with no handles, 13-inch bake pan even, just not going to fit. The meat probe in this cooker, another negative I have to say, it reads way too high. The meat probe, it reads too high and there's no way to calibrate that. So like it's telling you food is way more cooked than it really is. And I mean, in my opinion, it's showing you something that isn't really a carryover type of deal where the meat probe's saying, okay, well, it's nearly done so you can pull it and let carryover do the rest of that. In my opinion, it's reading higher than that. I was not impressed at all with the meat probe. After using it a few times, I stopped. I did not use the meat probe anymore. I didn't even try. I just, you know, used my own independent iGrill 2 meat probe or something because I'll just say I personally don't like the meat probe in this cooker. The rotisserie in this cooker, another negative. The rotisserie can't hold much. It can't hold more than a 4-pound chicken is basically what they say. And I'll tell you, I'm really tired of having to try and find a chicken that's really small just to fit into these things. When I want to cook a 5-pound chicken, I want to cook a 6-pound chicken, you know what I mean? But you can put like a 5-pound chicken in and roast it and roast up a 5-pound chicken just fine. And Lord willing, I will have a future vid coming with a 5-pound chicken cook and showing you that. So it does do that. The chicken comes out very moist. I was surprised given how much heat comes down from the top on this cooker, how moist the chicken was. It really was a very moist chicken for the amount of heat that comes down. I wouldn't say it's necessarily as good a job in overall moistness as like the Ninja Foodie XL Pro air fryer oven, but it's very good. You know, I wouldn't, you know, if the price is the factor, I wouldn't run and pay extra for a Ninja if the Ninja costs more. If this was at a decent price and you're into cooking chickens a lot, I think this can do a good job of roasting chickens. But you can't rotisserie more than a 4-pounder, and that kind of rules out the rotisserie. So for me, it's like, you know, the rotisserie I didn't want to use because it's the design of the cooker doesn't allow something bigger. The temperature probe doesn't work very good, so I want to use the temperature probe. You know, so those are some of the disappointments there. Now, here's another negative. The rack holder, when you use it on rack level 2, it has gaps. And the gaps in the rack holder, when you're pulling stuff out in and out on rack level 2, it can cause that rack to kind of, you know, dip, you know, and that's the same level that you're going to do roast on. That's the level for roasting. So let's say you got something big on there and it's a roast and you pull out the rack, and I've had this happen, but thank God it wasn't, you know, something that caused a big mess. I was able to catch it. But you're pulling something out and that rack dips and it caused a mess for you. Don't like that, you know. So those are just some of the pros and cons with this cooker. Now I want to go into details of some of the functions and my experiences with specific functions using those on a regular basis. With air fry, since the fan's on top, like I mentioned, it can get very hot. And so air fry works out really well. It does a great job air frying, and you just got to make sure that you are aware that it's going to cook things really hot, but it does a great job with air frying. With roast, it does roast well, and things stay very moist, like cooking a whole chicken. Broil, I will say broil to me, you know, it can broil, but I would use air fry, and I preferred the results I got from air fry over broil. To me, air fry cook things faster and work better than broil. So even though I use broil, I wouldn't continue using broil. I would just use air fry. Now, bake works well but you want to make sure that you use a lower temperature than you normally would with other cookers or conventional oven and such, because baked cooks things pretty hot too. And you probably, if you saw my initial review, you also saw in that how things can cook up really quick. So you want to be careful with the temperatures when you're baking. Reheat works very well. I was able to reheat anything I wanted to reheat quick, no problems. Does a great job with reheat. Toast also works very well. Gets both sides nicely cooked. The side that's, down on the rack, you got some nice little, lines from the wire rack. Looks kind of neat. Now, there are some features or functions that I did not use. I didn't use slow cook. I didn't use warm. I didn't use proof. I didn't use dehydrate. And that's just because, like slow cook, I didn't have anything big, and it's kind of discouraged using that second rack level, and just didn't do that. With warm, just didn't have anything to keep warm. Proof, just wasn't making any bread in here that I had plans to make. And dehydrate, I usually use my Ninja Foodie XL Pro air fryer oven for dehydration, because I got the dehydration kit and I can dehydrate so much at one time in that cooker versus this smaller cooker. Now, something else that I wanted to point out about this cooker, you can change time and temperature on the fly, but in this particular cooker, when you change time or temp on the fly, you have to make sure that you press the start button after you change time or temp. If you change time or temp on the fly and you don't press start, it will revert back to what you had set before, and that can be frustrating. So always remember, if you change time and temp, hit start afterwards, and that will make the change take effect. The noise level on this cooker, it's okay. It's not very loud. It's not super quiet, but it's not going to annoy you as far as the noise level that it makes. So, it's not a problem there. When it comes to cleaning this cooker, cleaning the cooker is very easy. I mean, I just, like the air fry basket, I just knock the excess off. I put it in the dishwasher every time. Never had a problem. With every cooker that has an air fry basket like this, I knock off the excess, put them in the dishwasher, and they last. For me, they have. The bake pan here, you can see, there's not much stainage on there. It's pretty non-stick. It's fairly non-stick, but still, it's good to line these things with something like a baking grill mat or something. Now I'll show you inside the cooker. As I like to say, I don't do anything special as far as cleaning the inside. I use a wet soapy cloth and I wipe the inside out, and then I take a wet one with no soap on it and wipe the excess soap off. I don't care about stains that are left behind. I don't mind the stains. I know some of you hate the stains. I don't care. I just keep rolling, and I don't fight it because everything keeps working fine anyway. I mean, those stains that are there, things still work fine, and I've experienced that with basically every cooker. Stains still, they work fine. So it's got, a little stain down the bottom, no, not a lot of splatter in the back or the sides. Things, stay relatively clean inside the cooker, in my opinion. Now I want to compare this cooker to some others, and I'm just going to do a few others, and from there you have to make your own determinations from all the information that I've given regarding the cooker. You can decide, because really it's up to you what you're going to really like and live with. But compared to the Chefman AirTouch air fryer oven, which is one that I reviewed recently, I honestly like the Chefman better than I like this Instant Omni Pro, because with the Chefman, the features that it had, it did well. They didn't throw like a rotisserie in it that is super limited on what you can put in it. They just didn't put a rotisserie in it. What it had, it could do, and it did decent. Versus this Instant Omni Pro, they put a lot in it that makes the spec sheet look impressive, but I just found some of those things and using them just weren't as impressive as I would have hoped. So I just like the Chefman, you know, it has what it has, and, you know, that's cool. And so between the two, I'd take the Chefman. Now versus the Cuisinart Chef's Convection toaster oven, basically, both have their issues with smoke. Probably the Cuisinart a little more than the Instant Omni Pro, but I can get that 13-inch bake pan in the Cuisinart, even though it's a slim cooker, I can get that 13-inch bake pan in there. So for all the features it has a lot more fan control and, you know, a lot more, well, if you saw my review, you know, but you can just do a lot more granular controls with it. I like that Cuisinart Chef's Convection toaster oven better than this. And so it's kind of goes without saying when I get to what is my present champ still of cookers, my Ninja Foodi XL Pro air fry oven, and that's to me just the best overall. This, you know, is not as good because the Ninja has a lot of nice features that work well, and it just does a good job. And I can't say that there are features that I'm discouraged from using with the Ninja as with this cooker here. So, you know, this cooker is not the best cooker, but it has some good things. It can air fry things quick. It does heat things up fast. It has some pluses, but it has some minuses. I mean, for me, this is a good cooker if there's a good sale. That's where I have to leave it for me. It's a good cooker if it's a good sale. But that's about it. Alright, so basically nothing in this video is sponsored, you know. Buy these things with my own money. But in the video description, you can do things like, there should be like referral link for this cooker or my Amazon shop, and you can pay same price, help this channel. Also my cookbook, recipes are usually cross-compatible between multiple different types of cookers usually. Also, you know, you can also check out my blog, superwaveovenrecipes.com. And so if you did like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, share the video with a friend, leave your comments, subscribe, hit that notification icon, and good eating.